What would you do if one innocent mistake turned you into the most hated man in the building, overnight? Because for Nate Pierce, that moment lasted less than 5 seconds, but it wrecked his entire life. The corporate tower was almost dead quiet that night. The kind of quiet that makes every footstep echo too loud, like the building itself is watching you. Nate adjusted the strap of his worn-out toolbox and checked his phone. 9:47 p.m. Way later than he should have been out. Before we continue, please tell us, where in the world are you tunning in from? And if you believe that stories of kindness, everyday miracles, and ordinary people deserve to be shared even further. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any journey like this one. But when you're a 33-year-old single dad, too late doesn't really exist. Bills don't care if you're tired. Rent doesn't care if your back hurts. And his daughter's school trip sure didn't care that he was already working 2 jobs. The call had come in last minute. Emergency repair. Executive-level gym, flickering light, easy fix, 10 minutes tops, then home. Nate had never been on the executive floor before. The carpet felt thicker. The air smelled cleaner. Even the lights felt brighter, like they had money too. He followed the work order down the hallway until he stopped in front of the gym door. Closed, he knocked once, twice, then louder just to be safe. Nothing. He waited a beat, checked his phone again. No missed calls, no warnings. The building was practically empty. Most employees had dipped hours ago. "All right," he muttered under his breath. "Probably empty." He turned the handle, and the second the door cracked open, everything went sideways. Standing in front of the mirror was Avery Lockhart, the company's razor-sharp CEO, barely 30, untouchable in every way Nate wasn't. Her blazer was off, her shirt halfway undone. Time froze. For one split second, they just stared at each other. Then Avery screamed. "What the hell are you doing?" Nate's stomach dropped straight through the floor. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I thought. "Get out." He spun around instantly, face burning, heart slamming like he'd just been caught committing a crime he didn't even understand. He backed out, hands up, panic written all over him. Too late. Footsteps rushed in from the hallway. Voices. Phones came out. Someone whispered. Someone recorded. Someone laughed under their breath. And just like that, the story wrote itself. Avery stormed out seconds later, fully dressed now, fury sharp enough to cut glass. "Who authorized you to enter that room?" she snapped. Nate tried to explain, words tripping over each other. "Maintenance. Emergency call. I knocked, no one answered. I swear I thought it was empty." Her eyes went ice cold. "That's what they all say." The sentence hit him like a punch to the ribs. "I have a daughter," Nate blurted out. "I would never." "Security," Avery said flatly. "Handle this." 2 guards stepped in, hands on his arms, no questions, no listening. As they escorted him toward the elevator, Nate's phone buzzed in his pocket. Lily, his 7-year-old. The voicemail played as the doors closed. "Daddy, are you coming home soon? I made us sandwiches." Nate swallowed hard. Because while the building decided he was guilty, his daughter was at home waiting for a dad who might not have a job by morning. And Avery Lockhart? She stood there watching him disappear, convinced she'd just done the right thing. She had no idea she'd just accused the wrong man. And she definitely didn't know what that mistake was about to cost both of them. By morning, a single video clip would turn Nate into a villain and force Avery to choose between her power or the truth. By the time Nate Pierce stepped off the bus that night, his legs felt like rubber. The city lights blurred past the window, but his mind stayed stuck on one image. Avery Lockhart's face, cold and certain, like she'd already made up her mind about who he was. A creep, a liar, a problem to be removed. None of it was true, but truth didn't seem to matter much when power was involved. Nate climbed the stairs to his small apartment, each step heavier than the last. Before he could even unlock the door, it flew open. "Daddy!" Lily wrapped her arms around his waist like she'd been holding herself together just to do that. Her hair smelled like cheap strawberry shampoo, and her smile, God, that smile, nearly broke him. "I made sandwiches, like I said," she announced proudly, "and I didn't forget to feed Mr. Whiskers." "That's my girl," Nate said, forcing a grin he didn't feel. They ate at the tiny kitchen table, legs bumping, elbows knocking. Lily chattered about school, about a spelling quiz, about how her teacher said she was very responsible. Responsible. At 7. Nate nodded, smiled, laughed in the right places, all while his phone sat face down on the table like a ticking bomb. Because he knew what was coming. Later that night, once Lily was asleep, Nate sat on the edge of his bed and finally checked his phone. Missed calls, HR, unknown numbers, a text from his supervisor, "Don't come in tomorrow. We'll talk." His chest tightened. He hadn't even been officially accused yet, and already the fallout was rolling in. Across town, Avery Lockhart stood barefoot in her penthouse, staring out at the city like it had personally offended her. She replayed the moment in her head over and over. The door opening, her scream. The way Nate's face had gone pale like he'd seen a ghost. She told herself she'd done what any woman in her position would do. She'd protected herself. Protected her authority. The company expected strength from her. Zero hesitation. Zero softness. Still, something nagged at her. Her assistant's words echoed faintly in her memory. Security footage shows he knocked. Avery shook it off. People lied, men lied. And hesitation in situations like that, it got women hurt, so she buried the doubt like she buried everything else. The next morning, Nate showed up anyway. Not because he was stubborn, but because he was desperate. The lobby felt different now. Eyes followed him. Conversations stopped when he passed. Someone smirked. Someone whispered. Another person lifted their phone just a little too casually. In the maintenance office, his supervisor didn't even ask him to sit. "The video's already circulating internally," the man said flatly. "It doesn't look good, Nate." "I knocked," Nate said immediately. 3 times. "It's on the security cameras." His supervisor sighed. "Doesn't matter, perception's already set." "So what, I'm just done?" Nate snapped, anger finally breaking through the fear. "After 5 years? You're suspended pending investigation." Suspended. Unpaid, Nate's thoughts went straight to rent, groceries, Lily's school trip money taped to the fridge. "I can't afford that," he said quietly. "I've got a kid." His supervisor looked away. "You should have thought about that." The words stung worse than the accusation. At the company daycare, Lily spotted him through the glass and waved like he was her whole world. Nate waved back, throat tight, because he didn't know how to explain to her that adults could be cruel, that one misunderstanding could flip your life upside down. And somewhere upstairs, Avery Lockhart sat in her office signing off on standard protocol, unaware that every checkbox she approved was quietly destroying a man who had done nothing wrong. 2 days later, a fire alarm would force Nate to make a choice, and the entire building would finally see the truth they ignored. The suspension dragged on like a bad dream Nate couldn't wake up from. 2 days. No calls, no emails, no answers, just silence. Nate filled the gap with extra shifts at the grocery store, double shifts, closing shifts, whatever they'd throw at him. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead while his feet screamed inside cheap work boots that were already worn down to nothing. Every dollar mattered now. At home, Lily noticed everything. "You're tired again," she said one night, curling up beside him on the couch. "Did I do something wrong?" "No, baby," Nate said quickly, pulling her close. "None of this is on you." She nodded, but her eyes didn't fully believe him. The next morning, Nate dropped her at the company daycare like usual. As he turned to leave, he caught 2 parents whispering nearby. "That's him," one muttered. "The maintenance guy," the other replied. "The one from the video." Nate didn't look back. He couldn't afford to lose it, not now, not with Lily watching. Upstairs, Avery Lockhart sat through a board meeting that felt longer than it needed to be. Numbers blurred together. Growth projections, market strategies, applause she barely heard. Then her assistant leaned in and spoke quietly. "Ma'am, HR is asking how you'd like to proceed with the Pierce situation." Avery didn't hesitate. "Standard process. Termination." The word hung unspoken but heavy. Her assistant hesitated. "For what it's worth, I reviewed the footage again. He knocked multiple times." Avery's jaw tightened. "That doesn't change the outcome," she said sharply. "He entered without consent." "But it was an honest mistake," the assistant pushed gently. Avery stood up, ending the conversation. "We're done here." She turned toward the window, arms crossed, staring down at the city. Admitting she'd overreacted felt impossible. The board was watching. The company was watching. One crack in her authority and they'd eat her alive. So she doubled down. That afternoon, Nate's phone buzzed while he was stocking shelves. Emergency notification, power surge detected, full building evacuation in progress. Nate's blood ran cold. The daycare, Lily. He dropped the box he was holding and took off, ignoring his manager yelling after him. The bus ride felt endless. Sirens wailed in the distance by the time he arrived. Fire trucks crowded the entrance. Smoke leaked from the upper floors. Security blocked the doors. "No one's allowed inside," a guard barked. "My daughter is in there," Nate shouted. "She's 7, she's in the daycare. Everyone's being evacuated. She's still inside." Nate shoved past before anyone could stop him. The heat hit him first. Then the smoke. Alarms blared, sprinklers sprayed icy water from above. Nate ran down the hall, coughing, heart pounding like it might burst. "Lily," he yelled. A faint voice answered back. "Daddy," the daycare door was jammed. Smoke seeped out from underneath. Nate didn't think. He kicked it. Once, twice. A third time and it burst open. 5 kids huddled inside, crying. The daycare worker lay unconscious on the floor. "Everyone grab hands," Nate said, voice hoarse. "We're getting out." He scooped Lily into his arms, shielding her as they moved through the smoke toward the stairwell. Outside, Avery Lockhart stood with the evacuated crowd when she did a head count. Something was wrong. "Where's the daycare staff?" she asked. Security froze. Avery's face went pale. Then through the smoke-filled doorway, she saw him. Nate Pierce, covered in soot, carrying his daughter, leading 4 other children behind him. Alive. In the next moment, Avery would realize the man she destroyed had just become the hero she never expected. The crowd went dead silent. For a second, no one moved, no one breathed. Nate staggered out of the building, coughing hard, Lily clinging to his neck like she'd never let go again. Soot streaked his face. His shirt was soaked through. His hands shook, not from fear anymore, but from adrenaline crashing all at once. Firefighters rushed forward. "Over here, kids first." They checked Lily, then the others, wrapping blankets around small shoulders, murmuring calm words that barely cut through the chaos. Nate dropped to one knee, lungs burning. He tried to wave them off. "Check the kids, I'm good." Lily grabbed his face with both hands. "Daddy, you're bleeding." "It's nothing," he lied, forcing a smile. That's when Avery Lockhart stepped closer. She'd never seen him like this. Not the scared man backing out of a gym, not the problem in a viral clip. This version was different, raw, wrecked, and still focused only on his kid. "There's someone still inside," Nate rasped. "Daycare worker, 3rd floor." Avery snapped into motion. "You heard him," she barked at the firefighters. "3rd floor, now." They moved instantly. Avery turned back to Nate, really looking at him for the first time. His hands hovered protectively over Lily, checking her hair, her arms, her legs. Like if he looked away for even a second, the world might take her again. "You went back in," Avery said quietly. Nate didn't look up. "My daughter was in there." The simplicity of it hit her like a gut punch. The daycare worker was carried out moments later alive. The crowd exhaled as one, cameras flashed, phones lifted, whispers spread like wildfire. "That's him, the maintenance guy. He saved them." Avery felt her throat tighten. 3 days ago, she'd stood in this same building and labeled this man a threat. Now he'd risked his life while everyone else, including her, had run out. She took a breath, then another, and then she did something she'd never done in public before. She stepped forward. "I need everyone's attention," Avery said, her voice steady but trembling underneath. The noise faded. 3 days ago, I accused Nate Pierce of something he did not do." Gasps rippled through the crowd. "I acted out of fear and embarrassment. I was wrong." Every camera locked onto her. This man was humiliated, suspended, and judged without being heard. She turned toward Nate. "And today he walked back into a burning building to save our children." Nate shook his head. "I didn't do it for—" "I know," Avery said softly. "That's what makes it matter." She looked back at the crowd. "I owe him an apology publicly, completely." Silence, then applause, slow at first, then louder, stronger. People clapped not for the speech, but for the truth finally catching up. Nate didn't know where to look. Lily waved at the firefighters like they were superheroes. Later that night, the media went nuts. Wrongly accused worker saves children. CEO admits mistake after heroic rescue. Nate ignored all of it. He just held Lily a little tighter when she slept that night, even when she twitched from bad dreams. 3 days later, there was a knock on his apartment door. When he opened it, Avery stood there. No security, no assistants, no power suit, just jeans, a sweater, and nervous eyes. "Can we talk?" she asked. Nate hesitated. 5 minutes, he said, because part of him still didn't trust this wasn't another setup. What Avery would say next wouldn't just change Nate's job, it would change both of their lives forever. Avery stepped inside Nate's apartment and immediately froze. Not because it was messy, it wasn't, but because it was small, tight, lived in. Crayon drawings covered one wall, a second-hand couch sagged in the middle. A tiny kitchen table barely fit 2 chairs. This was the world Nate Pierce was fighting for. "I won't stay long," Avery said quickly. I needed to say this without cameras." Nate crossed his arms. "You've got 5 minutes. Fair." Avery took a breath. "I'm sorry." He didn't respond. Not because he didn't hear her, because words like that had weight now, and he wasn't sure he trusted them yet. "I didn't just embarrass you," she continued. "I endangered your job, your reputation, your daughter's stability. I let my fear turn into authority. That's on me." Silence stretched between them. "You believed the worst," Nate finally said. "And everyone followed your lead." Avery nodded. "I know, and I can't undo that, but I can try to make it right." She pulled an envelope from her bag and placed it on the table. Nate didn't touch it. "HR reinstated you," she said, "with back pay, full benefits, and a promotion head of building safety." Nate laughed once, bitter. "That's a big jump." "You earned it," Avery said firmly. "You already do the work. You just never got the title. I don't want charity." "It's not charity," she shot back. "It's accountability." Before Nate could respond, Lily peeked around the corner. "Daddy," she asked softly. "Who's that?" Nate crouched. "This is Miss Avery, remember, from the daycare." Lily studied her, then smiled. "You're the lady with the loud voice." Avery winced. "Yeah, that's me." "I don't think you're scary," Lily added. "You were scared." Avery's throat tightened. "You're right," Lily beamed. "Daddy says it's okay to be scared, just don't be mean." Nate looked away, blinking fast. Dinner happened by accident. Avery stayed. Lily insisted. Spaghetti from a box, store-brand garlic bread. Nothing fancy, but it felt real in a way Avery hadn't felt in years. Later, Avery stood by the door. "I'd like to do more," she said quietly. "For you, for Lily." Nate shook his head. "I don't need saving." "I know," she said, "but maybe we can help each other." The next week, Nate returned to work. This time, people stood when he walked in, maintenance staff, security, even office employees who judged him before. And when HR finalized his role, Nate had one condition. "Raises for maintenance," he said. "Better hours, they work just as hard as I do." HR blinked, then nodded. Avery watched from the back of the room, realizing something huge. Nate hadn't just survived the worst moment of his life. He'd stayed decent through it. And that kind of strength, it changed people. But just when everything seemed fixed, Avery's leadership would be put on trial, and she'd be forced to choose between her position and the man she defended. The boardroom was colder than usual, not temperature-wise, emotion-wise. Avery sat at the long glass table, hands folded, face calm, while 12 board members stared at her like she was on trial. No smiles, no small talk. Just tension thick enough to choke on. The chairman cleared his throat. "Miss Lockhart, we need to discuss your recent decisions." Avery nodded. "Of course." "You publicly admitted fault," another board member said. "You promoted a maintenance employee to a leadership role. You approved raises and schedule changes without prior board consent." Avery leaned forward. "I corrected a wrong. I recognized leadership. And I invested in employee safety and morale." One of them scoffed. "You made the company look weak." Avery didn't flinch. "I made it look human." Murmurs rippled across the table. "The gym incident already raised concerns about your judgment," the chairman said. "Now this, some are questioning whether you're still fit to lead." There it was. The threat she'd known was coming. Avery exhaled slowly. The old version of her would have deflected, defended, blamed legal policy. But she thought of Nate, of how he stood tall even when the world was dragging him. She stood. "If owning a mistake disqualifies me, then maybe leadership means something different than we've been practicing," she said evenly. "Nate Pierce didn't just save lives. He revealed a flaw in our culture." A board member leaned forward. "You're risking your position for one employee?" "Yes," Avery said without hesitation. "If he goes, I go." The room went silent, gasps, stares. Someone whispered, "She's serious." The chairman studied her for a long moment. Then he smiled. "Good," he said. Avery blinked. "Good. This wasn't a punishment," he continued. "It was a test. We needed to know if you'd stand by your principles when it mattered." Another member chimed in. "Employee morale is up. Safety compliance is perfect. Public trust has increased." The chairman slid a document across the table. "Nate Pierce's role is approved, expanded actually, head of safety and culture." Avery's breath caught. "And the scholarship fund you proposed?" he added. "Approved, increased funding." Avery sat down, stunned. Later that afternoon, she found Nate in his new office, reviewing safety reports like he'd been doing it his whole life. "How'd it go?" he asked. "They tried to make me choose between you and my job," Avery said. Nate stood. "Avery, you can't. I chose you." His face went pale. "That's insane," she smiled. "Turns out it was the right answer." Nate exhaled hard. "You scared me." "Same." A beat passed. "Lily wants to know if you're coming to her school play," Nate added. "She says you're her good luck charm." Avery's eyes softened. "I wouldn't miss it." That Friday night, Avery sat in a crowded elementary school auditorium. Lily spotted her in the crowd and waved like she'd found family. And in that moment, Avery realized something terrifying and beautiful. She wasn't just protecting Nate anymore. She cared. What happens when a powerful woman lets her walls fall and a little girl decides you belong? The school auditorium smelled like popcorn and cheap cologne. Avery sat between folding chairs, surrounded by parents holding phones way too high, whispering encouragement to kids who couldn't hear them. She felt wildly out of place and strangely comfortable at the same time. Then Lily walked onto the stage. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't hiding. She stood tall in her cardboard costume, scanning the crowd until she found Nate. And then she found Avery. Her whole face lit up. Avery's chest tightened. When the play ended, Lily bolted straight toward them. "Did you see me? I didn't forget my lines." "You crushed it," Nate said, scooping her up. Lily turned to Avery. "Was I the best one?" Avery laughed softly. "Hands down, best performance of the night." Ice cream followed, because Lily declared it tradition. They walked to the shop down the street, Lily swinging between them, holding both their hands like it was the most natural thing in the world. Avery realized she hadn't held someone's hand like this since she was a kid herself. Later, at the park, Lily insisted Avery braid her hair. "You're getting better," Lily announced. "Only pulled once." Avery smiled. "Progress." Nate watched them from the bench, something warm and unfamiliar settling in his chest. "You didn't have to come to all this," he said quietly. "I wanted to," Avery replied. "That's different," he nodded. "Yeah, it is." As the sun dipped low, Lily ran back to the swings. Nate finally spoke again. "Can I ask you something? Anything. Do you think this, whatever this is, could be more?" Avery met his eyes. "Are you asking if I want to try?" He smiled. "Guess I am." She didn't hesitate. "I'd like that." Lily sprinted back over. "Why are you smiling like that?" Nate laughed. "Because good things happen sometimes." "Does that mean Miss Avery can come over more?" Lily asked. Avery crouched. "Only if that's okay with you." Lily wrapped her arms around her. "It is." Weeks passed. Weekends at the park became routine. Dinners happened more often, not perfect, not defined, just real. One afternoon, Lily tugged on Nate's sleeve. "Daddy?" "Yeah, kiddo. I think Mommy would like Miss Avery." The words hit harder than anything Nate expected. He glanced at Avery, her eyes shimmered. "I think so too," Avery said softly. That night, as they walked home under streetlights, Avery realized something she'd avoided her whole life. Strength wasn't isolation, it was connection. But just when everything felt right, one last test would prove whether second chances truly last. Not every test comes with alarms or cameras. Some come quietly. A month after the fire, a short clip resurfaced online. Same gym door, same scream, same misleading angle. Someone reposted it with a fresh caption trying to stir the pot again. "People forget too fast." The comments started rolling in, some cruel, some doubtful, some defending Nate. He saw it late that night while scrolling mindlessly, Lily asleep beside him on the couch. His chest tightened, old fear creeping back in like it had never left. "You okay?" Avery asked over the phone. "Yeah," he lied. "Just tired." But the next morning, Avery called an emergency meeting. She stood in front of the entire company, cameras rolling, not because she had to, but because she chose to. "A month ago, I made a mistake," she said. "And I fixed it, not with silence, with action." She didn't dodge questions, didn't hide behind PR language. She told the full story again, clear, calm, and honest. And then she did something no one expected. She released the full hallway footage, all of it, the knocking, the waiting, the immediate retreat. The narrative collapsed instantly. By evening, headlines changed. Context matters. Truth over clips. That night, Nate stood on his apartment balcony, watching Lily sleep through the window. Avery stepped beside him. "You didn't have to do that," he said. "I did," she replied, "because silence lets lies breathe." He nodded. "Guess we both learned that the hard way." Downstairs, maintenance staff gathered for a small celebration, nothing fancy. Pizza boxes, laughter, relief. Nate looked around at faces that once avoided him. Now they trusted him. Avery watched him laugh with them and felt something settle inside her. This wasn't about redemption anymore. It was about belonging. Later, Lily hugged Avery tight. "You're family now," Avery's voice caught. "I'll do my best to be worthy of that." Some mornings change your life without warning. For Nate, it happened on an ordinary Tuesday. He was reviewing safety protocols when HR called him upstairs, not casually, not urgently, just formally. The kind of tone that makes your stomach tighten even when you've done nothing wrong. When he walked into the conference room, the board was there. Avery sat at the far end of the table, unreadable. Nate's first thought, here we go again. The chairman cleared his throat. Mr. Pierce, we've reviewed 6 months of company data since your appointment. Nate nodded, braced. Safety incidents are down 40%. Employee retention is up. Morale is the highest it's been in years. Another board member leaned forward. You changed the culture. Nate blinked. I just did my job. That's exactly the point, the chairman said. We want you to expand your role company-wide. Nate looked at Avery. She smiled, proud, not powerful. Later that night, Nate told Lily the news. Does that mean you're still coming home early? She asked. Always, he said without hesitation. She smiled, satisfied. At the park that weekend, Lily climbed the jungle gym while Nate and Avery sat together on the bench. You ever think about how close you were to losing everything? Avery asked quietly. Every day, Nate said, but I don't live there anymore. She nodded. Me neither. Lily ran over, breathless. Guess what? What? My teacher says families can look different and they're still families. Nate and Avery exchanged a look. Smart teacher, Avery said. Lily grinned. So we're a family, right? Nate swallowed. Avery answered first. Yes. If that's okay with you. Lily hugged them both. It is. Not every story gets a second chance. Nate Pierce almost didn't. One unlocked door, one scream, one viral clip. That's all it took to turn a good man into a villain. But here's the thing most people forget. Truth doesn't disappear just because it's inconvenient. It waits, quietly, patiently, until someone is brave enough to look for it. Avery Lockhart learned that lesson the hard way. She spent her life building walls, titles, authority, control, thinking that was strength. But real strength showed up the day she chose accountability over ego. And Nate, he never asked to be a hero, he just showed up for his daughter. For his job, for people who couldn't protect themselves. Months later, the building's gym lights still worked just fine, but everything else had changed. Nate came home for dinner, every night. Lily slept without nightmares. Avery stopped being afraid of being human. They weren't perfect. They didn't pretend the past never happened. They carried it with them as proof that one moment doesn't define a life. Because sometimes, the worst misunderstanding becomes the doorway to the best future. And sometimes, the man everyone judged turns out to be the one who teaches everyone else how to be better. If you believe one mistake shouldn't erase a lifetime of good, then you already know the real ending of this story. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe and return to our channel for more life-changing, emotional, and heartwarming stories.